me, you probably lie awake at night imagining what life would be like under President Trump until your sleep medication kicks in and carries you off to a world of horrifying nightmares. But we don't have to imagine what a Trump presidency might look like. We just have to look at the unheated crawl space between Quebec and New Hampshire where America hides its heroin, Maine. In 2010, Maine elected the beta version of Trump.
I was Donald Trump before Donald Trump became popular. So I think I should support him since we're one of the same cloth.
Specifically, the loud, ugly, grossly outdated cloth of your Uncle Bobby's leisure suit.
And the enemy right now, the overwhelming majority of people coming in are people of color or people of Hispanic origin.
Do you ever try to say, what's so special today from somebody from Bulgaria? And the worst ones, if they're from India, you gotta have an interpreter.
Mr. Chu now is looking, I call him Mr. Chu.
Gesundheit! Oh, I'm sorry, I went out on a limb and assumed he speaks German. Like Trump, the governor and his core supporters see his unfiltered mouth garbage as a feature, not a bug.
He has a core group of supporters. They definitely see him as someone that says it like it is and gets things done.
He once said President Obama could go to hell.
The governor, known for speaking his mind, has a message for the NAACP.
Tell him to kiss my butt. My son happens to be black.
Slow down there, Strom. That's your Jamaican golf caddy's son who came to stay with you. He's not so much your black son as your black Kato Kalin. Still, your fake son is way better than Trump's real ones. Maine is in trouble. It has a dwindling population that's also the oldest in the country, with deaths outnumbering births. Although granted, that birth-death imbalance is partly due to a mysterious wave of deaths in Maine's quiet little town of Derry. To compensate for its sagging population, business groups say Maine's workforce needs more immigrants. Hey, guess what? They're in luck. It just so happens the most heavily vetted immigrants on the planet are looking for a place to bring their skills. Hooray!
Syrian refugees, some of the governors in other states are not going to allow any Syrian refugees into their states. What is your policy on that?
Same thing. I'm with them.
Why?
Because I'm concerned for Maine people.
What people? You don't have any. That's the problem. But LePage hasn't even mentioned the most deadly weapon refugees could bring in, their own filthy bodies.
At a town hall meeting, LePage said asylum seekers from other countries are one of Maine's major problems because they allegedly bring diseases with them.
What happens is you get hepatitis C, tuberculosis, AIDS, HIV, the Zika fly, all these type of other foreign diseases that find their way to our land.
Oh, is that where LePage caught diarrhea of the mouth? Because I could have sworn he got it from Typhoid Donald.
We've just seen many, many crimes getting worse all the time. And as Maine knows, a major destination for Somali refugees, right? Am I right?
No! Look at the lower third. You're never right. The local police chief says there's no correlation between Somali immigration and increased crime. And if anything, the opposite is true. Blue facts matter. LePage's Trumpishly paranoid bullshit about asylum seekers is creating an unwelcoming atmosphere for the immigrants Maine desperately needs to reverse its population decline, staff its methadone clinics, and care for its aging population of white dementia patients yammering about waterfowl.
Oh, look, I've spotted the loons.
What is it with old white people and their love of loons? But I don't want to dismiss LePage as just a xenophobe. Like Trump, he's also a dick to American brown people.
I had to go screaming from top of my lungs about black dealers coming in.
These are guys that are named D-Money, Smoothie, Shifty. They come up here, they sell their heroin, then they go back home. Incidentally, half the time they impregnate a young white girl before they leave.
Well, thank God someone is doing something to boost your state's population. After naming all the members of his imaginary Wu-Tang Clan, LePage refused to apologize to those most hurt by his bigotry, white women.
Instead of saying Maine women, I said white women. And I'm not going to apologize to the Maine women for that, because if you go to Maine, you will see that we're essentially 95% white.
Governor LePage is right. Maine has less diversity than the LL Bean Fall catalog. So what does Law and Order LePage propose for these drug-pushing, white girl-fertilizing outsiders?
What I think we ought to do is bring the guillotine back. We could have public executions and have, we could even have which hole it falls in.
Awesome! I think Maine just found its new tourism campaign. Like Trump, LePage favors racial profiling based on careful research by this respected scientist.
Governor LePage says he's been saving the mugshots of accused drug dealers in a white 3-ringed binder.
And I will tell you that 90+% of those pictures in my book are black and Hispanic people from Waterbury, Connecticut, the Bronx, and Brooklyn.
Okay, that is obviously a lie. Everyone knows there are no black and Hispanic people left in Brooklyn. When a state legislator suggested that LePage's ridiculous homemade trapper keeper full of Jet magazines was a tad divisive, the governor responded with the voicemail version of a 3 a.m. tweet storm.
This is Governor Paul Richard LePage. I would like to talk to you about your comments about my being a racist, you cocksucker. You little son of a bitch, socialist cocksucker. I want you to record this and make it public because I'm after you. Thank you.
Parents, teach your children. A dignified statesman always says thank you after calling someone a son of a bitch cocksucker. I bet LePage wishes he'd responded differently.
I wish it was 1825 and we'd have a duel. That's how angry I am. And I wouldn't put my gun in the air, guarantee you. I would not be Hamilton. I'd point it right between his eyes.
Yeah, word of advice, Governor. Talk less. Smile at all. Maine is a beautiful state full of good people. How did a majority of them vote for a racist Fred Flintstone? They didn't. He slid into office with just 37% of the vote because the opposition was split between a Democrat and multiple independents. I hope we all learn a lesson from that. Because Maine didn't. 4 years later, those ding-dongs split the vote again, with an independent spoiler peeling more than 8 points away from Democrat Mike Michaud, a poor public speaker who gave uninspiring performances in televised debates. 8 points. Sound familiar? So let Maine be a warning to the rest of us, because, as they say, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, or, more likely in this case, are just plain doomed. We'll be right back.